do. Baby Reed.
Here it is. It's under 3 seconds to go. Throws up the floater. Off glass. Good night, Cleveland. That is for you.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Wall Street Journal podcast. Exciting day in basketball today and this week. A great playoff games. So we got me and Nishant here on the line. So Nishant, say hey, hi to everybody.
Yo guys, what's going on? I'm pretty sad that we haven't been able to watch some basketball the last few days.
Yeah, 3 days of no basketball.
Yeah,
and this week we got a special guest, Rohith Mohan. And just a quick introduction to him. So his first name is Rohith, last name is Mohan. But me and Nishant, just like throughout this podcast, you'll hear us calling him Rohith or Mohan. So just bear with us. All right, Rohith, introduce yourself.
All right, so what's up, guys? My name is Rohith. This is my first time on the Wall Street Journal, and I'm pretty excited to be here. I'm actually coming on this week as mostly as a LeBron consultant. I've been this is year 16 for me as a LeBron fan. I've been following him since the ESPN The Chosen One cover back in junior high, and I've kind of followed him with all his ups and downs. And I'm just like I'd say this is like one step below Windhorse in terms of my devotion to LeBron. So see if we can give these guys some good material this week.
Well, yeah, me and Nishant didn't even have to ask him how long you've been a LeBron fan, man. He just went off.
Yeah, man. We needed to have him on so we can talk to him. This is the year that LeBron, we were kind of worried about him, but LeBron's been coming through, man. What do you think?
So yeah, this year, through the regular season, what I've been seeing with this Cavs team is, obviously, you got to break the season up into like 4 parts. Many analysts have kind of talked about it that way. So it's like there's obviously the first part of the regular season with the original squad, like before the trade deadline and the blow up. Then there's the second part, which is with the new guys, Rodney Hood, George Hill, and that's like the second part. And then you got the real season, which I always refer to as the playoffs, and that's kind of where this team has kind of been shaky at the beginning and then kind of come through. But this year, I've been worried about the Cavs. I think mainly from a defensive standpoint. I think like LeBron has played better than I've ever seen him. I think in terms of his jump shot going in and like just his overall durability. Obviously, it's the first time he's played 82 games this season, and like it's the best I've ever seen LeBron, but like probably the worst Cavs team I've seen since the pre-Miami Heat days.
Oh, like the 09, 010, those Cavs, right? The ones who lost to the
like
Celtics.
The Mo Williams squad.
But it seems like the team is kind of coming through together at this point. I think missing George Hill in that first round really was holding them back, because as soon as he came back, I mean, they've been thriving. They, train wrecked the Raptors, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But do you finally think they're clicking right at the perfect time to make that finals run?
I think so. I mean, I think the Raptors are kind of like the catalyst this team needs to kind of get going. I think the Pacers played them really tough, and I definitely didn't take that first round matchup lightly. Even when they had the schedules out, I was like, oh, the Pacers are going to be tough in the first round. And they gave them a run for their money. It went all the way to 7 games. I think this team is coming together, but I think in order to compete with whoever comes out of the West, most likely the Warriors, they're going to have to improve just as much as they did in the previous round, this round, especially on the defensive end. I think offensively they looked really good in the last round, and they were like, everything was clicking, their threes were falling, but they were still got to raise their defensive intensity, especially on transition, which has been the problem with this team's defense all year, to another level in order to compete with the West.
Yeah, I mean, they found this new play that the Raptors unexplainably could not stop for some reason, where LeBron's at the top of the key, by the 3-point line, and Kevin Love set a screen, a down screen for Kyle Korver, and every time Kyle Korver would just be open, or it'd be the other way where Korver would screen for Love, and Love would duck in under the rim and get an amazing pass from LeBron and just score. And I feel like Brad Stevens will figure out how to
Absolutely.
because Dwayne Casey was completely incapable.
Yeah, speaking of
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I think we'll go into I guess we can. I don't know when we should talk about the Raptors, but Dwayne
I mean, we're already there, right?
I think Brad Stevens. I think absolutely I agree. He's kind of very good at coming up with his own plays and diagnosing them. Dwayne Casey, I mean, this year is one thing, but 3 straight years to the same team over and over again, not being able to I understand not having an answer for LeBron to stop. You're not gonna have to stop him, but like to completely like not make any adjustments and just kind of let them run right through you. It's kind of like
well, he did make an adjustment. Give him some credit. He
look,
benched DeRozan for a whole quarter to try to help them win.
Yeah, Dwayne Casey's biggest adjustment was benching his best player on the max player on the team, benching him. I mean, I completely lost my mind in this series. Like, so people were today. Dwayne Casey got fired. Rest in peace to him, or whatever. Prayers.
Rest in peace.
But the thing is, right? So all these people started coming out and be like, "Oh man, the coach of the year potentially is getting fired, and what's the big deal?" But if you watch these games, so let's take Game 2. 4 straight plays, Kevin Love was just posting up CJ Miles. The dude did not make an adjustment and didn't think like I should do something about it. And same with Game 3, like that game winner by LeBron. Yeah, great shot by LeBron. But all Dwayne Casey did was just put OG and Bowie, like him on one-on-one. Like didn't blitz LeBron. Like didn't think to do like something different to maybe throw LeBron off his game. Like.
Well, in his defense, they didn't take a timeout. So, I mean, that was actually a pretty smart call, I think, by Coach LeBron. He didn't call a timeout. He did what Russell Westbrook does, which is grab the ball, run up the court. And, at that point, they didn't have a defensive scheme set up. But they probably should have talked about how to defend the best player in the game on a game-winning type situation, especially because LeBron hit a game winner in the Indiana series.
Oh, yeah.
So they probably should have, talked about that beforehand, not just been like, oh, Adebayo, charge at him and try your best to defend him. Because there was, if you look at the slow-mo, there was this split second where, LeBron sees Adebayo, he sees that he's gotten a step ahead of him, and he like smirks before he jumps up and gets, the 1,000-foot elevation that he gets. So that way, even if Adebayo puts up a hand, it's like a wide-open shot.
Yeah. So let's backtrack a bit with the Raptors and what went wrong, because I think they're going extinct this year and they're going to rebuild their entire platform. There's 3 issues with the Raptors, and there's 3 levels at which their problems kind of start. Let's start with they lost the series in Game 1 even before LeBron shot. Psychologically, to give up that game on your home floor with a fatigued LeBron shooting way below his normal numbers and kind of not showing up in Game 1, missing 8 layups down the stretch, that the series was lost there. But I think given that that it's Cleveland that you have to beat in the East, there's an organizational issue, kind of a personnel issue. I think for the regular season, if you look at their kind of the statistics, and most of their wins, even though they're the second best record in the league, came against sub 500 teams. They were pretty average or mediocre against the top teams in the league.
Especially
and
the second
they had
half
a
of the
deep
year,
bench, which allowed them to kind of shine in the regular season and play well on back-to-backs and with that kind of schedule. But you needed to add some major pieces, whether defensively or the deep bench is not going to get you through a series with LeBron.
Nishant's boy Van Vliet.
Yeah, he was. I mean, all right. To be honest, this guy's playing with a hurt shoulder, and he tried his best. He's the only one who's not under contract for next season, so he's the only one from the Raptors that might be gone.
I mean, it would be a big loss, but I mean, the fact that out of all the players, Dwayne Casey, once again, end of Game 1, Van Vliet, I don't think he should be taking the potential game-winning shot.
But that was DeMar DeRozan's fault. I think that play was meant for DeMar DeRozan at the very end, and he got scared. I think LeBron is the boogeyman for him. Yeah. Anytime LeBron is on him, he gets so scared that or anytime he's playing LeBron's team, not even if LeBron is on him, he gets scared. He just doesn't perform. I mean, he came up really bad this whole series, and probably in the whole playoffs. I mean, he wasn't that great altogether.
It wasn't a good look for.
Maybe he's just not a winner.
Ooh,
exactly.
Damn, going all the way there.
Yeah, I think going to the Van Vliet point, I remember vaguely seeing on primetime once this year. Van Vliet did hit a game winner one time this year.
Wait, really? He did?
Yeah, it was against the Jazz or some team I was watching. It was on primetime on a Friday. From the corner, he hit a game winner. He hit a shot like that, and that was when the Raptors were really feeling themselves in the prime. So
Friday in Utah isn't really prime time when it comes to.
Man, they had a great night. What are you talking about? You've never been out and about in Utah.
To have seen that game, because you know how much regular season basketball I watch.
Yeah. For all you listeners, Mohan views the regular season as the preseason, and real basketball starts when the playoffs begin.
I mean, this Raptors team, if anything, is plays into my hand better than anything you've ever This Raptors team, the regular season, their second best record in the league, but I mean, as LeBron said, I mean, you could have me as the 4, 5, 6 seed. It doesn't matter if I come into your building, I'm going to be a problem. So it's like, it doesn't like the regular season only means so much because everything is the whole game is like entirely different in the playoffs. Just the rotations, schemes, physicality, everything's different.
It kind of makes sense, right? Like why they're called the Raptors, because in the preseason, aka the regular season, they thrive because they're prehistoric creatures, and then when the real season begins, the Cavaliers, aka humans, are always stomp on them year after year after year.
So this week, like on ESPN, there's like this really good article about comparing LeBron and Jordan. I mean, we've seen different articles in the past about this, right? Like, because now LeBron's at the point, like, completing year 15. Jordan played 15 seasons. So it's like a good, valid argument to compare these two players, Jordan and LeBron. And it was talking about how basically Jordan at his peak, maybe like in the early 90s, might have been the better player, but overall, LeBron's put together a better career, and he should definitely be given consideration at this point for the GOAT. And just wanted to know, what are your guys' thoughts? Mohan, what do you think?
So, I mean, I think like I've seen this approach from a lot of ways. I've seen some people actually come around over the course of his career, and like some people do give him respect now and of seeing the body of work. But I think the old 90s basketball fans, the hard school Jordan fans, I think they'll never say LeBron's better, but I think they're all kind of coming around in terms of giving him respect for his body of work. I think in terms of from an unbiased basketball perspective, I think what I told you guys earlier this week, I think I read in addition to the article that came out this week, there's another article talking about the BOAT versus the GOAT. So I think they label Jordan as the greatest of all time. So at the peak of his powers when he's winning, he's actually the greatest player. But the best of all time in terms of like being the best player on the floor at all, like being able to play all the positions, the best player for their team, I think LeBron has rightfully earned that distinction.
Yeah, I
so
think
that's
I agree.
where I would divide Jordan and LeBron.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree. Kevin Pelton had a pretty good quote today that I was reading. He said Jordan might be the better player at his best, but LeBron has already put together the best NBA career we've ever seen. And I mean, LeBron's probably got another 5 years. I think I was looking at the projection stats. He might be the highest scorer to ever play the game. He's going to be in the top 5 for assists. You know, he's going to be probably in the top 15, 20 for rebound, because of the length of his career.
Wow.
He's going to be up there in steals. He's going to be up there in blocks. Because you're talking about a guy who played most of the season, every season that he's played for 15 years. He's never had a major injury, and barring a major injury like, you know, Kobe had at the end of his career, LeBron's going to be finishing out his career still strong.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the fear with LeBron now, right? Like, this dude's been so healthy his whole career. Like, he's just genetically blessed. Like, Gloria just gave birth to this amazing, amazing son.
Thank you, Delonte.
So, Gloria's just given birth to this guy, like, who's been given great genetics, never had a major injury. I mean, he also takes care of his body, like, spends the $1.5 million a year taking care of his body. But it just, that's the fear, right? He's been playing so many minutes for so many years consistently, and you just wonder if his body's going to break down at some point. But if he keeps this up, like, I mean, I think he's going to overtake Jordan at this rate. Yeah,
there was a stat that I was reading today that LeBron has played more playoff minutes than the whole Celtics team combined.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? You're talking about a 12-man roster, and Al Horford has seen his fair share of the playoffs, so he probably puts up like half, if not more, of the Celtics playoffs. Yeah,
I mean, because Tatum is a rookie, Jaylen Brown's a second-year player, I think Rozier's a third-year player, so these guys haven't seen big playoff minutes.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's all part of his thing. I mean, yeah, I think LeBron, even this, having seen him through his career, even this year, there is has been a decline, but LeBron has been really good at kind of masking it. I think at times you see him kind of, especially in the regular season, you saw him kind of veer off on the defensive end, and that's why the Cavs had their like terrible like doomsday scenario in January before the trade deadline.
Where they had to get rid of Isaiah.
And LeBron wasn't playing defense at that point, and obviously he's the floor general, and when he's not playing defense, the rest of these guys weren't playing defense either. And even in the playoffs, I mean, he expends energy pretty judiciously, so from that standpoint, the decline has already begun. And in terms of preventing injury, like, my guys, Tom Brady, LeBron James, they spend a tremendous amount of money on their body and, like, recovery, and that's kind of the secrets to both their careers in a way. It's like
plugging in Tom Brady on this podcast. Just trying to bring all your guys in here.
Yeah, so it's like LeBron spends something upwards of $1.5 million, like a $1.5 million on his body every year. He flies in the off season. He flies his personal trainer, chef with him everywhere he goes, and I mean and that's the reason why he hasn't seen those declines. Obviously, he's been lucky in that like no like freak injuries happened to him, but he does everything in his power to prevent it from happening. He's judicious on the court, and I think all of that speaks to why his career has been as long as it has been, and he's been able to take the minutes on his body. And now that we've hit the conference finals, I mean, one big thing that I'm relieved about personally is like, yeah, I mean, the days off between games increases more and more as you go further in the playoffs. And LeBron, like, I thought like the second round would be a real problem for LeBron, given that like they went to 7, which has never happened for LeBron in the first round. And they were ready for game 1, and you could see in game 1 that he was out of it. He had no gas left. So like now that he has the time off, I think you'll continue to see a very, very strong outing from LeBron in this series and hopefully the next.
Yeah, I mean, they finished their series up on Monday. Game 1's on Sunday, so he's getting 6 days of rest. I think this will be an interesting series. What do you guys think? What are some of the things you're looking for, or like if you guys want to give a prediction for this Celtics-Cavs series? I mean, we all know.
You can go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think I have been kind of against the Celtics from the beginning. I thought the Bucks were going to beat them, and I thought the Sixers. We all
thought the Sixers. I mean, yeah.
And my whole argument there is that I think the Celtics are lacking both experience and in this case talent. But I was wrong. I think as much as experience is important, I think great coaching really makes a difference, and not only changing what your defensive scheme is between games, but within games. And I didn't realize this, but the Celtics are like a top 2 defense, even with Kyrie out. And so they have a fantastic defensive team, and that's really what's keeping them going. The fact that Al Horford is able to guard the opponent's best player, I mean, he was on Simmons the whole game, and there's some stat like he was there for 90% of Simmons's minutes on the court, and Simmons had the worst plus minus of the whole Sixers team. He was like minus 155 or something like that when he was on the court.
Damn. Was he guarding, you mean Simmons or Embiid? Because right, he was guarding Embiid most of the time?
No, when Simmons was on the court, Horford was guarding Simmons.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Horford's just a beast. I mean, everybody calls him Average Al, but this guy's like definitely more than average, right? I mean, everybody was laughing when he made the All-Star team, and it's like, how did this dude make the All-Star team? But I think in the playoffs, he's showing like without Kyrie, he's been all these young guys on the Celtics look at him as the leader, and he's coming through. My
only fear about the rest of this series is, LeBron has been a Raptors killer. LeBron has also been Al Horford killer with his time in Atlanta. And so I really think the linchpin here is LeBron, and I think the Cavs will pull this one out just based on experience. It seems like the supporting cast is coming together now, and the fact that there's still no one in the East that can guard LeBron, and there's no one that could slow LeBron down. The only person that was close was probably Paul George, and now he's no longer in the East. And the only other person that can slow him down is Iguodala, who's in the West, and Kawhi Leonard, who knows where right now.
Who's at a Dodgers game right now.
Yeah. So I can't see anything stopping them. It just comes down to how many games it's going to be. And I have a lot of respect for Brad, and so I think maybe they can squeeze out one game at home, and it'll be a gentleman's sweep in 5. But I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Juan?
So in terms of my views, I mean, I think until I've been watching, I think I've seen Brad Stevens kind of the Celtics games, especially in the playoffs. The dude is like a magician with some of the play calling and some of the especially his out of bounds plays. They're automatic 2 points because he's that has that much kind of basketball knowledge and knows how to maximize his guys. And he's the reason these young dudes are playing with a tremendous amount of confidence. And you could see that side by side with the Sixers and how they handle certain situations down the stretch. And I think this series is going to be a battle of the minds between LeBron, who's the coach on the floor, and then Brad Stevens, the Celtics coach. And I think it's going to be a tough series, I think, for the Cavs, and I think it's going to go 6. I think it's going to go to 6 because
you sure you're not using some reverse psychology? Because I know you think it's going to be done in 4.
not this time. No, I think it's, and I think if the supporting cast doesn't show up in the Pacers series, this could be a trouble for the Cavs. But given that they've improved, I think that the fact that the supporting cast, LeBron's going to need a supporting cast to win the series, especially on the defensive end. I think the games are going to be much more low scoring, And I think it's gonna come down to like guys hitting shots and kind of the series could be shorter if like kind of the young guys don't pick up, the young guys on the Celtics don't kind of lose their confidence earlier on. But like if the Celtics somehow hold serve like on the first 2 games, is like, you know, that's gonna be pretty intense. I mean, I think even game 1 is gonna be critical for the Celtics' confidence, and from there we're gonna kind of see where the series goes. I'm not putting anything past Brad Stevens, and I think he's like, him and Pop are the 2 best coaches in the league, like hands down.
Who do you think is the most important guy on the Cavs besides LeBron? Like, who needs to make sure they show up game in and game out? Because originally I thought it would be Kevin Love, but I actually think it's someone else. Who do you think?
I mean, Kevin Love, yeah. I mean, we need like the production from Kevin Love on a day in, day out basis. I think Korver is important for the offense, but I think the catalyst for the Cavs, like if they hit shots, they win games, is J.R. Smith. If J.R. Smith hits like 3 to 4 threes a game, like they win. Like if you look at it, the percentage of games won, it's ridiculous. So he's kind of the wild card for the Cavs, and kind of who determines how well they play.
Yeah, I'm just scared he may be smoking too much weed right now. I mean, did you guys see that post game where
he's like, I'm gonna do some green or something like that?
He's like, he was on SportsCenter after the game, and I think it was Scott Van Pelt. He's asking JR. He's like, man, it looks like you really had a green light this tonight. He's like, not as much as green as I'm about to hit this after this game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the matchup between Tristan Thompson and Al Horford is going to be huge.
You mean Khloe Kardashian and Al Horford? But yeah, I mean, so the crazy numbers game in this series, right? Is the Celtics probably? I saw somewhere they have the better 3-point shooting percentage, better team defense, better 3-point defense, more fast break points, probably more overall team depth. But then you just look at the Cavs and it's like, shit, they have LeBron. Like, that's like the great equalizer, right? We're just talking about how great LeBron is, and it's like they may have all this going for them, the Celtics, but it may not matter if they can't do anything about LeBron. But I know, Nishant, you were saying like you had like another guy in mind, right? For who you think is going to be the second most important player on the team next to LeBron.
Yeah, so I actually think it's going to be how George Hill plays and how he can stay healthy.
No one's been talking about
And the reason for this is I think LeBron, in order to get rest in games, and especially because he's trying to play like 48 minutes every single game, they need a second primary ball handler. And I think the reason why they struggled in that Indiana series is because they didn't have that. LeBron had to bring the ball up every single time. And he was getting tired. And by the end of the game, if you look at his shot chart, it went from a lot of shots in the paint to a lot of shots at threes. And we even saw it towards, I think in the game 7, he was just shooting threes from far away because he was tired. And I think George Hill really makes that a lot better because he can take 5, 10, 12 minutes of being the primary ball handler. And if he can do that effectively and stay healthy and orchestrate some sort of offense...
That's the big thing. Can he stay healthy?
Exactly. Then I think that he's the key guy. And not only that, but on the flip end, I think he's the most important defensive player as well. Because the nightmare, Tatum and Brown are going to get their points. Can you stop a guy like Rozier? Can you stop a guy like
Terry?
Can you stop a guy like Smart? And I think you need a strong point guard defender. And George Hill arguably was brought in for that reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think, George Hill, it's like, I still don't know how much I can, like, I'm like optimistic given the last series, but like, I think the guys I listed, given that I've been watching this team for a while, were all the old school guys, the guys who won the championship. But I agree, for this team to go like all the way and win it, those newer guys have to come up big in this series as well.
My one last question to you before we kind of conclude is, what do you think about the fact that, and Ajay, you too, because you're a Lakers fan, and a lot of these guys came from the Lakers. Nance not getting any minutes. Yep. Jordan Clarkson getting, marginal minutes, maybe in garbage time or a couple of minutes here or there. Rodney Hood really not being that important of a player, where LeBron is kind of falling back to his guys. Yeah. What do you feel about that trade? I mean, that trade was big, but there's really only one guy that's coming out of it now, which is George Hill.
Yeah, I think the fear with that trade was, when they made it, is it kind of rejuvenated LeBron rather than the players themselves being better than their replacements. And but yeah, I mean, I've been like watching these Lakers, like Nance and Clarkson. Lakers haven't been in a big game in like 4 or 5 years. Like these guys in playoff time, it's different, and they're not gonna get these minutes. And before Game 7, we saw Tristan Thompson got his first start, and LeBron pretty much like confirmed that he runs the whole show there. He said, "I wanted my guys to start that game with the championship team." So it was Love, JR, him, Thompson, and then Kyle Korver for that game, because I mean, LeBron loves Kyle even though he wasn't there for that championship game.
Because he's a shooter and LeBron is a shooter.
Yeah. I think LeBron's gonna ride or die with his guys.
Exactly. I think it comes down to it comes down to something much more simple than that. I think it's like, given that we talked about how the season's divided into multiple pieces, especially the Lakers guys and the new guys, they don't have the playoff experience, and that's like the number one thing on why they haven't been as effective as the other guys. I mean, like, that's kind of why they haven't showed up as much. They haven't gotten as many minutes. And this Cavs team, like, I mean, because they didn't have like a full season to kind of, as much as I diminish the regular season, the importance of it is to kind of get continuity, and that's what this team doesn't have. And from round to round, the reason you've seen so much inconsistency and kind of change from round to round in the playoffs with these Cavs squads is like, that's the reason. I think like they learn on the fly literally, and like in addition to getting the days off for rest, like 6 days off is like 6 days for this team to practice, which they haven't really had. And I think that's kind of the big reason. So as like LeBron gains trust with these guys, and if they continue to advance, these guys will get more minutes and they could potentially like help out more. And I think that's what it comes down to.
And hopefully the Cavs won't overlook the Celtics like everyone else, including myself, has been doing all playoffs long, and they won't start trying to think about, are we playing the Rockets or the Warriors?
Oh yeah. All right. So before we move on to the Western Conference, I just hope we get a great series in this, and Rodney Hood actually shows up, or maybe he won't, even if he's called upon.
He'll just be like, nah, I'm okay. I'll just sit on the bench.
I'll let Chetty Osman play over me.
Okay.
All right, guys. So now, coming to the other side, the Western Conference, man, this is the series we've all been waiting for since Chris Paul got traded to the Rockets. Daryl Morey has come out and said it. We're obsessed with beating the Warriors, but of course, our boy Draymond is like, they may be obsessed with us, but we're only obsessed with one thing, and that's championships. Like, completely showing no respect to the Rockets. And we already know Draymond's going to get some technicals and flagrants in this series. And it's good. I mean, I can't wait for Game 1 on Monday, because I think Cavs are on Sunday, yet Rockets, Warriors on Monday. What's your guys' favorite matchup in this series?
So I'm pretty excited to see what Chris Paul and Steph are going to be like. I assume that Chris Paul is going to be the primary defender on Steph. And historically, Chris Paul, I mean, he's aged now, but he's one of the best elite defenders. And Steph, who's coming off of an injury, and he said in that first game it was all about adrenaline, and he's kind of getting his legs under him. I think the rest is going to be really helpful, but I think that Steph is the key to winning this series for the Warriors and winning the playoffs in general. And I think if Chris Paul can even slow him down or make his percentage a little bit worse, I think that's the matchup that I'm most interested to see.
I agree as well. It's Steph versus CP3, and like especially given how well CP3 played in the last series in the closeout game. I mean, he's coming off hot. Steph since the injury is like taking the Warriors back to like last year's championship level of like efficiency, and like their offense is just they have another gear when Steph is on the floor, and I think that's what's left to be seen. That matchup is going to determine the series, and like seeing like whether the Rockets have that extra gear with this newfound team that they've built this year.
What do you think, Ajay?
Yeah, I mean, so so Steph is good, right? But the reason the Warriors went and got someone like KD to a already stacked team, I mean, we all think it's unfair and all that, but the reason the Warriors like went and got KD is because when you come to a series like this, right? So let's say CP takes out, like Chris Paul takes out Steph, and then maybe like Ariza takes out Clay, right? They'll probably hide Harden on Iguodala or Draymond, because I mean Harden can't guard KD. So then they're gonna have to put like Luke Richard and Mahmoud or PJ.
Who looked great in that game coming back. I mean, this guy, last game of the season, pops his shoulder.
No, I'm sorry, yeah. To all the listeners, I wasn't laughing at his skill, but just like his name, Luke Richard, Mahmoud or PJ Tucker, right? I mean, he's like a little rough guy, PJ Tucker, but KD can be that guy where if Luke Richard and great defenders, but let's be honest, when KD's jumping, like he won't even see them. So if KD's on fire and he's on, I think that's going to be the X factor. I mean, it's weird calling someone like KD an X factor, but if he can be like the last year's Finals MVP KD, then the Warriors should be good.
It's interesting. They list him at 6'9", I think.
But he's 7 foot.
But he's 7 foot. I mean, you watch this guy jump, and I noticed it most prominently in the Spurs series. He jumps up, and like, if you put a hand up, you're still not covering his face.
Yeah.
So you're essentially not contesting the shot.
Yeah. Even last time, like whenever Drew Holiday was on him, like great defender, we saw how Drew Holiday took out Damian Lillard, but completely different animal when it's on KD.
Well, Drew Holiday is also listed as 6'3", probably closer to 6'1".
Yeah.
So this guy's got almost a foot advantage after over every single shot.
I mean,
what?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you go, Rohit.
Yeah, yes. So in terms of competing with the Warriors, there's just too many things that have to go right for you to win a game because there's like so many like what you were saying, Ajay, with KD. Like there's so many people that like have to go cold. Their system always has like on offense. There's constantly movement going on, so everyone gets good looks. They have a good system, and they have like the perfect players to run their system. And it's like the talent gap between them and the rest of the teams in the field, especially when Steph is there, is there's just too many things that have to go right, and you have to rely on like a lot of guys going cold and you having a perfect game to win a playoff game against them. And that's why winning 4 out of 7, they haven't lost a single game on their home floor. They've only lost with the full lineup. They've only lost 1 game, and that was last postseason to the Cavs. And like that's how good this team is. So it's kind of scary.
There was an article today on ESPN. I think they were talking about how the Warriors will beat you before you even realize it because they go on this 1 3-minute spurt.
Yeah.
And if you look at that 3-minute spurt, they just shoot lights out and they defend really well. And that's all it takes because it swings the game like 12 points. And that's crazy, right? Like you're up by 5 and all of a sudden you're down by 7. Your team is so demoralized all in a span of 3 minutes because you can't stop a guy like Clay or Steph or KD just training threes. And I think if the Rockets want to be able to win this series, they have to be able to counteract that 3-minute spurt with their own 3-minute spurt of you guys can't stop us from the 3-point line, whether it's a step back 3 from CP3 or James Harden, or it's one of those spot up threes from guys like, Ryan Anderson or Eric Gordon.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, Rockets are very capable of like spurts on their own. But it'll be interesting, right? Because we've seen in the past, I mean, CP3 finally made a Western Conference Finals. So technically he's not been at this stage before. I mean, he's a great player, so it shouldn't be a big deal to him. But he's never been in a Western Conference Finals. James Harden's had his playoff struggles. Mike D'Antoni, same thing, he's had his playoff struggles. So I'm just wondering, like, when it gets to these big, crucial moments, the Warriors, right, they've been there. They've done it. They won championships together. They added KD last year, so you can't say anymore that, they haven't done it without KD anymore. So they've been through all these big moments, and I'm just wondering if, like, all those threes that they take, when they carry just a little bit more meaning in these close moments, if they're still going to go in like they were in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I'm concerned about is just they do it. There's an article talking about like how efficient Harden is in ISO compared to other players, but yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't going into those clutch moments, things of that sort, or even beyond that. Like, I don't know how much isolation ball we're going to see when the games get close, the defense gets more intense, given that it will with the Warriors. How much isolation is going to happen, and whether Harden has shown in these playoffs that Harden hasn't shown up every game this playoffs. It's been either him or CP3 have shown up every game, and there's been still a fair amount of isolation ball. Mm-hmm. And like, if both of them go cold some game, or like the Warriors have the talent to take both of them out of a given game plan. Who's going to be, whether they'll make the right basketball play and get the other guys involved. In the regular season they did, but like now in the Western Conference Finals, it's left to be seen whether they can step up like the rest of the Warriors.
And I think the most interesting thing to actually this series is going to be what's going to happen with Capella. I think Capella has arguably been the most important piece for them. I mean, he's, guarding Anthony Davis, like everything that he's doing.
So do you guys think JaVale McGee should see some minutes?
Maybe, or do you just play without any of the bigs and just play with your Hamptons 5 lineup and force Capella off the court because he can't defend any of the smaller guys? I mean, is that the way, the ultimate small ball beating big ball?
Especially if Draymond's making threes, then like Capella, like, it's going to be hard for him to stay on the floor. They could hide him on Draymond or Iguodala if they're not making their three-pointers, but the threat is always there. So
but even then, I think Capella loses effectiveness because what happens is he's outside of the paint then. If he has to leak all the way out,
so then KD
and Steph can get into the paint. I think that's why Capella was so important the first 2 series, because he was in the paint, getting blocks, altering shots. He looked like the Stifle Tower.
Yeah, I mean, he was like making Karl Anthony Towns look like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Mutombo coaching.
The Mutombo finger wag, man, it's working. And so if he can't stay on the court, I think the Warriors wrap this up real quick, and everyone looks at the Rockets and says, "Hey, Daryl Morey, what's next? Are we gonna get LeBron next?"
LeBrockets.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like, I think it's the Warriors. If I were the Warriors, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't like upsized. Maybe at spurts, JaVale McGee might be helpful, but I think you keep Draymond and let him push the pace and see if Capella can keep up, and I think that's kind of what the Warriors have been best at. And I think the funny thing is, this team has been constructed explicitly to try to beat the Warriors, and it's gonna be interesting if all this finally pays off. We saw it in the opener, like everyone was watching the regular season opener and saw the Rockets pull off like a surprising win and kind of have all that swagger and confidence. Them, let's see if they can keep that up for this entire series, and it's gonna be a long one. And if any team can match the Warriors' spurt ability, it is the Rockets. The Rockets are the only team that I've seen this season that has glimpses of that. So.
And the last thing is, if the Warriors get down 20 points in the first game, they in classic Game of Zones fashion, they can unleash out of the cages Zaza Pachulia in order to inflict
take out Harden.
It's a repeat of last year.
Yeah, all right. The whole series is in, but just to some a separate tangent. What's been interesting? I was just thinking about this is KD and Harden. People are going to think I'm a hater, but it's funny how the Thunder, right? They must be thinking, man, KD and Harden are both going to be in this series, and we both had them on our team, and we somehow ended up with the worst guy out of those three, who was Russ, and now we got out in the first round, and here are KD and Harden in the Western Conference Finals. I
wouldn't necessarily say he's the worst. I also think that the franchise of the Thunder have been frugal. They aren't willing to go put out the money like the Warriors and the Rockets have been willing to do.
Thunder owners match. He's probably losing sleep over having to pay Melo next year.
Yeah,
Nishant's coming to Westbrook's side to save him as usual.
No. I think in general, the decision for Harden to leave was a money issue, right?
They traded him, over money
because it was a money issue,
and it was $4 million. Like, come on, man, this owner's so cheap.
Yeah, and
the biggest thing about James Harden is, he wasn't the James Harden of today. He wouldn't have developed into this if he wasn't on the Rockets and wasn't given the ball that much, and he developed into what he is now. He showed flashes of it on the Thunder, obviously, but he wasn't this James Harden.
But he would have given them insurance, because how one of those playoffs, Russ was out because that was the year Beverly took him out, and Russ had the torn ACL. If Harden was there, he was coming off the bench at that time, but he would have came right into the starting lineup, and who knows, the Thunder fate might have been different.
Yeah, it all changes in that finals against the Cavs?
Which final?
The Thunder or the Heat?
Oh, the Thunder Heat.
The Thunder versus the Heat.
The Thunder Heat.
With LeBron, I was getting wrong. LeBron.
Sorry, so LeBron James is always there. I just knew it's some LeBron
so many teams.
Yeah, no, I was gonna bring that up too. That finals is very interesting because that kind of altered the course of history in so many ways. That was LeBron's first championship. Yeah. Other interesting tidbits. I remember this so well because it was LeBron's first championship. It's
nostalgia.
Yeah, back then it was 2-3-2, so it was very interesting that the Thunder had home court. LeBron stole one game on the road and never let them come back. They won it in 5. And I think so going back, the point about this is Harden. Harden was really off that series, and he was coming. He was the
Miami nightlife.
Yeah, that was a piece of it, and it's back then Harden used to come off the bench, as crazy as that was. He was a sixth man back then, and he never got found a rhythm, and he kind of played amazing through the rest of the playoffs, but in that series he never quite showed up, and I think all of that together were kind of why the Thunder never got back to that point, and everyone kind of went their own ways, and that was a very critical, transformative moment in NBA history, and kind of how we see the league right now. That one NBA Finals. So.
Yep. All right, guys. Any parting thoughts before we end this podcast?
Any final predictions? So, what's everyone's predictions for the upcoming series? Just to have it written down so that.
When we go back to
each other out down the line.
I got Cavs in 4 and Warriors in 6.
I got Cavs in 5 and Warriors in 5.
I guess if I had to really say Cavs in 5 and Warriors in 5 as well.
But really, guys, Mohan thinks Cavs in 4.
And he thinks Warriors in 4. Let's be honest. He's a winner. He doesn't think about losses.
He's just using his reverse psychology.
All right, guys. It was good talking to you, and it's good talking basketball with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Looking forward to speaking to you guys next week about what we see in the conference finals.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll catch up with you next week, guys. We're halfway through the Western Conference Finals.
Later, guys.
Later.